Ever wondered if your advertising dollar is really working for you? If your ad would have been here, you and more than 4 million people would be listening to it right now. Contact ads at xzoneradiotv.com.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
In a world where shadows dance and dreams take flight through the veil of reality into the night, Rob McConnell leads the way, a beacon so bright. With over 35 years, he ignites the light. A voice from the north where whispers are bold, stories untold in the echoes of old. Fact meets fiction in this realm of delight, in the X Zone where dark turns to bright. Welcome to the X Zone, believe and be free, a sanctuary for truth that dare to be seen, where the line between realms gently blurs, in a symphony of voices the mind stirs, with Rob McConnell stories unfold, tales of the unknown that shimmer like gold.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us on the CanCom Broadcast Network. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. And on, if you're, no matter where you are around the world, our good friends at Classic 1220, CFAJ, AM are good enough to not only carry our show in the first 2 hours, but they're also good enough to stream us worldwide at classic1220.ca. Wow, what a day it's been. Moon mission completed. What a great mission this was. Perfect in every way, and it's so nice to have our astronauts back, and our Canadian astronaut, Mr. Henson. Glad you're back with us safe and sound, as the other 3 American astronauts are safe and sound as well. It was a perfect picture landing as they went from 25,000 miles an hour to when they hit the Pacific Ocean off the coast of California at 20 miles an hour. Wow. Looks like we're going to be going back to the moon again soon, people. So to NASA, the Canadian Space Agency, and all the other people who had their part in this wonderful lunar mission, congratulations, and thank you for bringing our people home safe and sound. X-Zone Nation, my first guest tonight is a lady we've had on the show before. Her name is Sande Hart, and she is a mother and grandmother from Southern California. She is an award-winning author of the Liminal Odyssey, The Alchemical Power of the Spaces in Between, and a leader in the field of women's empowerment and community building. She is the founding president of the Global Women's Village, established in 2001, committed to the concept of archetypal identity of women, known as a woman whose future, today known as a woman who futures a new paradigm. Joining me now is Sande Hart. Her website, sandehart.com, SandeHart.com. And Sande, welcome back to the X Zone.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for that introduction.
Oh, well, thank you for being with us. What is new in the world of Sande Hart and all the great work you're doing?
Oh, my gosh. What a great time to be alive. I mean, it doesn't mean that there isn't astronomical chaos. And I am in the United States, as you mentioned, so I know a thing or two about chaos here. And then you just look up and you see what science just manifested, what man just manifested, and what our 2 countries just manifested. So it's hard to, not mention that. What an extraordinary, like you said, what a perfect, a perfect landing, but also an entirely perfect mission. when we knew what we were doing. We were set on our vision. And that's what's new with me. I'm getting more and more clear on my vision, and I'm listening carefully to what wants to happen and featuring a new paradigm.
Well, let me ask you this, Sandy. What do you think of all the mounting chaos and disequilibrium in our world, largely instigated by the United States? What does this mean to society as a whole?
Yeah, it's what I consider the thrashing tale of the dying dinosaur. When a beast of any size is dying, an animal of any size is dying, it's going to thrash. It's going to hold on to every power it has. And what power is being, which is what is fading away right now for a number of different reasons, is the degree of hierarchy, the degree of a system of patriarchy, a system of domination that this country has actually thrived on, and not in the best way, since our origin story. And it's always been there. It's always been in the underbelly. But something's got to give. Whether it's we're as a human race, we're evolving. The world is speeding up. Technology is speeding up. We're getting, our minds are getting bigger. We're thinking faster. We have no choice because technology is coming at us so fast. And then the tensions of the world, that are brought about by this decaying system that is falling apart. It never really did work for us, but we were very good at making it look like it did and staying comfortable in that space. And that shows up in over-consumerism, in the language we use, in the division that's so possible, and ultimately in the fragility of our country here in the United States. And boy, has it really shown us how very fragile democracy is here. And so what do I think of these times? I'm saddened for any suffering that is happening. People are hurting right now, all around the world, of course. But it's also our good news. It means we're evolving. It means we're changing. It means we're being forced to change. And I'll take a second here and share, this analogy of the butterfly, which I'm sure many of your listeners know as well as you do, that a butterfly, when it's time to change, it has this impulse. Nobody tells it to change. It knows it's time to go within, right? To examine what it is. And then what happens is in that imagination stage, imagio state, it deconstructs completely. It completely disintegrates from what it was. It was this cute little furry caterpillar crawling along the sidewalk, and now it's gone within and its DNA is completely rearranged, and suddenly it starts to form hips and wings and starts to become this butterfly in a cocoon. But here's the thing, and this is right where we are, particularly our country, I can say, and maybe even culturally as a world, and what's happening all around the world right now in the wars, etc., is that nobody can help that butterfly out of its cocoon or it will die. It needs every bit of its strength to pull itself out, to pull itself up through those threads that are its umbilical cord, if you will, to the right. And if you try to help it, if you snip it, it might come out of its cocoon, but it won't be able to fly because it didn't build the capacity for the strength. And that's what we're doing right now as a world, is we're learning we have no choice but to build capacity to be better.
I love the way you put that, and it's a great visual. What I see is not only the problems that are being reported by the media, but it looks like we're playing deflection all the time. For example, we get close to the Epstein files. There's something else that... Oh, for goodness sake, Craig, I didn't mean... Let's not do that sad song right now. No. Yeah, all right, I'll get off.
I'm going to cry.
Yeah. Me too. There's always this deflection. As soon as we start getting close to getting the Epstein files in front of Congress or the Senate, something happens and all the attention is taken away. And then we get rid of this crisis and we get back to the Epstein files or some other very important matter that has to be taken to task, and something else comes up. It's always deflection. I just wish that we'd be able to start something and finish it. So we'd be able to get to the bottom of things and get things accomplished.
Well, it's all part of the same thread. It all shares the same root ball of that system, right? And by the way, the Epstein, the wars and all of the destruction that's happening, namely in the name of this administration, is manufactured. And maybe it's, I happen to believe, this is my little conspiracy theory, it is manufactured to deflect. He is one big weapon of mass distraction. And if we haven't believed it before, we can believe it now. And so, but I'd like to, I want to say something really quick about
Certainly.
what you mentioned about media and the fact that, I remember in college hearing, professors say, and this was a very long time ago, but he said, one of when our media, we lose our trust in our media, civilization will fall. And what's happening here, though, and I think what we know now that we didn't know then, is we're becoming much more intelligent of a human race. We're operating more in a telepathic, if you will, in the paranormal. What is not considered normal, right? And that is that we are learning how to trust ourselves. And we're learning that, okay, we do need to know what's going on. We do need to trust our leaders. Yet we also have a built-in GPS system, right? And that's our role right now as a human race, is to dial into that and get to know who we are and remove the wheat from the chaff and do our work so we can prepare and show up. That's what it means to future a new paradigm. We do our individual work because we are the ones that are creating where we're going.
Sandy,
we're not victims of this.
That is so true. And Sandy, please stand by. We've got to take our first break. X-Zone Nation, our guest this hour is Sande Hart, SandeHart.com. And Sandy and I will return on the other side of this break as the X-Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, right here on the CanCon Broadcast Network. Don't go away.
In the echoes of old, fact meets fiction in this realm of delight. In the X-Zone where dark turns to bright. Welcome to the X-Zone, believe and be free. A sanctuary for truth that dare to be seen. Where the line between realms gently blurs. In a symphony of voices the mind stirs. With Rob McConnell, stories unfold. Tales of the unknown that shimmer like gold. Every guest a new chapter, with eyes open wide. In this vast tapestry, there's nowhere to hide. Aliens and hauntings, the secrets of time. Each moment a journey, sublime and prime.
Somewhere out there, a light's gone dim. A chair sits empty, the world feels thin. A mother's voice that should be near is now just silence filled with fear. The days grow longer, the nights grow cold. Questions unanswered, prayers unfold. A family waits through endless
Once again, Exonation, if anyone out there listening throughout Canada, the United States, or anywhere around the world where you're listening to the show tonight, if you know anything about the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, do the right thing and call the FBI or your local law enforcement agency and tell them what you know. No clue is too small. No hunch is too small. Do the right thing. Give them a call. And welcome back, everyone. Once again, do the right thing. If you know anything about the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, give the local police department a call. Call the FBI. Be part of the solution instead of being part of the problem. Sande Hart is my guest, SandeHart.com. Sande, you say humanity is on the growing edge of an upward spiral. Now, what do you think is the most important thing to remember during this evolutionary time, since we're not butterflies?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. So the growing edge is the place between where we are today and the world that we are creating, right? We're stretching, we're getting more and more creative. And the most important thing we could do right now is, like I said before the break, is to really get to know thyself, right? Do a little self-realization and make sure that what we are co-creating together is in its highest integrity, because we sure don't want to bring any baggage into the future. And Thich Nhat Hanh said, the Vietnamese guru, he said, the next guru will be the Sangha, the community, the mass, the critical mass. And it makes such perfect sense, because culture is nothing more than a collective agreement by everybody in it. And it's how we move together. It's the rhythm and the rules and the languages we use together in a civilization. And so that's changing. And like I said earlier, the ways that we have been don't work for us. They never really did, but they're becoming more and more evident that they're not good for us now. Our planet has been suffering. We've been getting signals from our planet for decades, if not longer. But we're comfortable, we're convenient, we're a little spoiled, and we haven't been forced to the edge. We are at the edge. So the most important thing we could do right now is to reckon with our role and responsibility and our privilege. We're like those astronauts, right? We're heading into the new frontier. No, we don't know where we're going, but we know we're on our way. They knew where they were going, and they had a lot of support behind them. We are creating this as we go. It's that simple. You have an invention, invent it. You have a creative spark that you've talked yourself out of. Stop that. Give it a try. Yeah. And so that's the most valuable thing that we could do for our planet right now, is to show up in our integrity.
What would you say the biggest indicator that we are evolving at a dramatic pace right now is?
Partly what on one hand, it's the destruction, the falling apart, the disintegration, the disequilibrium. And then yet we see people are finding each other. There's this awakening that is becoming more and more normalized. We're using different language. We're losing we're losing patience with the things that don't work. Again, we're especially in the last, I wouldn't say 10 years here in this country, especially the last couple of weeks or month in this country, we have been forced to find another way, to look at things differently, to question, wow, what was my role in what's going on there? It's time to stop victimizing. It's time to stop blaming and shaming. It's time to say, okay, I don't anymore, but I used to drive a car that used gasoline. I don't eat meat anymore, but there are a lot of meat eaters in my family. So there are a lot of things that we are doing right now that may seem benign if you stop, but they're not. They're intentional steps that we can take to future that paradigm, that new paradigm that we are going, and we can create that. And so to answer your question, we are seeing that seed fall apart, that seed that's laying in the darkness fall apart. And it is dark, right? It is hard to watch, but it's disintegrating. And yet we can see this new green growth coming out, peeking out through the soil. And we don't know what that's going to look like. But again, we are its sacred gardener. And that's a gift to be in service to that. And that requires us to show up in our integrity.
Sande Hart is our guest, www.sandehart.com. Sande, in your book, The Liminal Odyssey, you refer to the sacred art of listening as an invitation to be open to new pathways for understanding and reverence for what is in front of us. Why is this so important to remember right now, especially right now?
Listening is the greatest skill that we could practice and build capacity for. Not only listening to others. There's a beautiful quote by Douglas Steers that says, to listen to someone into a condition of discovery and disclosure may almost be the greatest service one human being can do for another. And the idea that we are truly listening is also a gift for ourselves. But I think even more valuable, or equally valuable, is to listen in. Get really quiet with ourselves and listen to our body, listening in to our body. Listen into those pangs when we're saying something. Are we getting a knot in our throat? Well, that might be that we're not talking in our integrity, or maybe we're nervous, or our guts is aching when we know we're heading somewhere. Well, maybe that's not a place we're supposed to be going, or maybe we can just take a moment and deal with the stress. But our body needs to be listened to. It's aching to be listened to. And over millennia, we have been duped to believe that we've been duped to believe to discount those signs, to discount our relationship with our body, with ourselves, with the nature of who we are. And we share a heartbeat with the planet. We are, we're a replica in a way, in many ways. That's a fun thing about going into nature. You could go and look and see where you relate. Those connections build capacity to turn within. So building capacity of the sacred art of listening takes practice. There is a half a chapter in my book about how to do that. I used to teach a course on this and on the sacred art of listening, and present it all around the world because, and by the way, there's a listening association that tens of thousands of people go to their seminars every year. I mean, I was surprised to know that this was such a big industry, but it's so needed right now. So listen in.
The art of listening. Who would have thought? Your work is predominantly in the field of women's leadership and women empowerment. Now, what do you mean by empowerment?
Yeah, there's a sign of the changing times. A lot of new words are emerging, and because to truly be in our integrity and say really what we mean and mean what we say, empowerment is one of those words, as well as repowerment. I don't like empowerment. Empowerment sounds empirical. It sounds like top down. I'm doing something for you. No,
Right.
When you're empowering someone, you're helping them find that within themselves. You're guiding them to themselves. You're inviting them back to themselves. And that's what empowerment means. Repowerment is about repowering, but empowerment is, I think, the greatest gift we can do. And that also happens when you listen someone into a condition of discovery and disclosure. They find their power. They find their answers. They find their truth. They learn to trust. They learn to trust themselves. And that's really a beautiful thing. Yeah.
This is a strange time. So, in your opinion, based on your experience and the work you've done over the years, we're in the cocoon stage of evolution to our next level.
I think we're climbing out.
That's
I
good.
think we're mustering all we got. And I can be in 3 places in one day, right?
Yeah.
I can be in the cocoon. I could be struggling like with all my might to get through this. And I could feel free as a bird or a butterfly. Yeah. And so, but as a society, I would say we are definitely in the climbing out stage. We're almost there, I think. I think we're closer than we think.
I hope so. As long as somebody that I know that looks very orange doesn't put his finger on the suitcase nuclear button, we'll be okay. Stand by, Sandy. We've got to take our break at the bottom of the hour. In Exonation, Sande Hart is my very special guest. SandeHart.com and on Facebook /SandeHart. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone, and you're listening to us around the world on the CanCon Broadcast Network, streaming at classic1220.ca.
Be near is now just silence filled with fear. The days grow longer, the nights grow cold, questions unanswered, prayers unfold. A family waits through endless pain, hoping to hold her once again. If you know something, if you see the truth. When the night feels heavy and the answers won't come, when your heart's out searching but you're feeling undone, there's a voice in the silence calling out your name, reading stars in the heavens, lighting up your flame. She sees the patterns past and present too, a cosmic map that leads you back to you. Ask Holly Hall, she'll read your soul tonight. Through the stars, she'll bring your truth to life. From the past to the future, every rise and fall, find your path. Just ask Holly Hall.
Sande Hart is our guest. www.sandehart.com. That's SandeHart.com. Sandy, like you wake up in the morning and you never know what's going to be on the news. You can only hope that it's going to be a better and brighter day. How can men and women work together to get us from the cocoon into a better world where we can work with the gardener instead of working against the gardener?
Oh, how important of a conversation is this? I think first women can acknowledge that men have had a really bad rap in this, especially during the feminist movement, that men have suffered greatly at the hands of patriarchy. Patriarchy is not male specific. Patriarchy is a condition of domination. And they have benefited from it and they've been duped to believe it, but it's never been who they are. And also not to cry. I mean, that just builds up. That freeze dries the tears in the soul. And it's been, the men have been handed an unfair hand in this. Even though it is evidence apparently points to that it was man who created this, yet nobody can fault men for this. So I think it's important for women to understand that, and then for men to also discover what it means to be vulnerable. I think men and women each need their circles. There are circles out there for men, and there's no shortage of circles for women. I can recommend the Divine Feminine app is one place to go find a circle for women. And Circles of Men, I think, is a really good place to go for men. And then we come together intentionally with that. But we recognize that we each have our unique, authentic gifts to give to the world. And I don't want to be equal with you. I can't be equal with you. I want parity, with you. I want equal access with you. But we have to get very clear. There's an organization called Gender Equity International, Jerry, Gender Equity Reconciliation International, GERI. Phenomenal. These two, Willa and Cynthia Keepin, are dear friends. And this is a global organization that's been at this work for a long time. And I think that's a good place to start because this is relatively a new topic, what you bring up. You really are on the growing edge here. Thank you.
No, it's I who thank you, because I agree with you that there's nothing wrong with a man crying. There's nothing wrong with a man showing his feelings. Yes, men are strong, but so are women. And I think that, in my opinion, one makes the other better.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what do you think the role of men during these times should be?
To do their work. Our work as women is to do our work, and the men have their work to do. And there's some reckoning to do. And to find those circles, to find those groups, to do some in a safe place, do some self-realization if you don't feel safe doing it out loud. And that's understandable. The most important thing men can do, I think, is to recognize that we need each other. And more women, women in my circles know this, but I know that there's a lot of women who are still holding a grudge. And it's not serving us to do that, to find each other and to find our circles and to do our individual work, which is the same as anything I would say to anybody about anything is do our work, start with our work. It's our responsibility, and that's all we can do. And then we change our mind when we do our work, and then we change our behavior, and then our habits change, and then we just start living. We start living and leading a new worldview.
With everything that is happening today with the transgenders, the LGBTQWXYZMOUSE, how do we as a society blend the new vision of those who have been trapped in the body of a woman or those who have been trapped in a body of a man, and finally they're feeling safe enough to come out and to make the necessary changes in their physiology to be who they really are. And yet there are those members of society who look at that and say, oh, that is strange, that is sick, that is weird. And how do we get the people who don't get it to understand that it's okay?
I think those people who don't understand it have their own journey. I do. I think that's their story. And bless those who are feeling more comfortable in those spaces, in the spaces that they're comfortable in, to be who they are and to love who they love and to be what they want to be. And don't forget furries. Furries, I did some research on furries. That's a whole nother subculture that isn't what we think it is. So I think it's time to start questioning assumptions. That's one of the pillars of this work that we're doing at the Global Women's Village, questioning assumptions about what we think is right, what we think is wrong, what we think is normal. And it's time to get paranormal here. It's time to question those facts, right? And turn that fiction into reality. And that fiction we get to create. So I really do think it's, gosh, it's such a shame. I just feel bad for people who don't, who are, who judge so harshly. And by the way, I can go out wearing the wrong pair of pants and shoes, and I could be looked at as weird and crazy or fat or whatever. So you can't please everybody. You have to please yourself, as long
Exactly.
as you're not doing harm. Yeah.
Exactly. Um, Tell us more about this new archetype that you and your team have identified, a woman who futures a new paradigm.
Yeah. So a woman who features a new paradigm is a woman who lives and leads on that growing edge. She has done her work. She knows that it's her role and responsibility, and she also knows that to heal the world. And
Hmm.
she also knows that women are good medicine. And we are what's missing from the world. We want to know why the world isn't working because there isn't that equilibrium with women and what women bring, and we bring good medicine. And she stretches the edges of the meaning of her role and responsibility in the world. And it's beyond a recognition. And that is what, required us to give her a new identity, a new archetypal identity. And her existence in our narrative invites this new paradigm, and it also applies to every woman, no matter what her role is in an organization, a business, or family relationships. Um, um, there's no blaming. Again, there's no blaming, shaming, victimizing. She knows who she is. She pulls her shoulders back. She picks up her staff, and she just says, "Come to mother. Let's love this place back into wholeness." That's what a woman who futures a new paradigm is.
Just looking back in time, Sandy, what first inspired you to dedicate your life to women's empowerment and the interfaith collaboration?
I don't know. It's the honest answer. The morning of 9/11,
Hmm.
I woke up and heard "Gather Women." And I went to bed the night before as the director of sales and marketing for a home builder. And I was, living a charmed life, and a soccer mom and a basketball mom, and my kids were in middle school, and and living in suburbia. And I'm like, okay, yes, I'll gather women, but what am I supposed to do with them once I get them? And I just said yes, and that was the first time that I learned how to get out of my own way. And I became fascinated with women. And along the way, it instinctually came to me that um, that we are that medicine, that we something has been missing. I'm only now able to say that, in this, this era in my life, I'm only able to say that now. But then it was this feeling that I just kept chasing. I just kept saying yes to. I kept following. I kept gathering the women. I kept doing community work. I kept going out into the world. And at the time, like, interfaith
Hmm.
reconciliation was really a necessity. And we were the mother, and this organization I formed, we became the mothers of our community. We were the voice of reason. We were the voice of calm. We were the voice that was invited to universities and different places of worship to sit on panels and present our work throughout the whole county, and then ultimately the country, and then the world. And because what we were really on to was the essence of who women are, and what is our highest and deepest belief system, and what is it that we bring to the world. That's fascinating to me. Women are fascinating to me. We're complex, we're complicated, we're delightful, we're beautiful, we're there. We're closer to sensuality,
Hmm.
and as we get older, um, and you know, and we go through these stages of maiden, mother, and crone, and we bleed like Mother Earth. We are in alignment with the cosmos and the moon. It's just a really juicy subject that I didn't expect you to ask, so I probably could have been more prepared for it. But that was as honest as I can be.
That's all I ask for is honesty.
Yeah.
And of course, without a woman, there would never be a man.
Oh, of course, of course. We birthed
Hmm.
civilization. We owe it to ourselves to own that.
Sandy, stand by. We've got to take our final break. And Exo Nation, if you'd like to find out more about our guest tonight, please visit our website, sandehart.com. That's SandeHart.com. And on Facebook, facebook.com/SandeHart. I'll be back with Sandy on the other side of this break as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us around the world on the CanCom Broadcast Network, streaming on classic1220.ca.
A cosmic map that leads you back to you. Ask Holly Hall. She'll read your soul tonight through the stars. She'll bring your truth to light. From the past to the future, every rise and fall. Find your path. Just ask Holly Hall.
Sirens in the distance, flashing through the night, running into danger while others take flight. Boots on the pavement, heart steady and true, but there's something deeper guiding what he'll do. Beyond the flames, beyond what eyes can see, a voice within speaks of destiny. He's a psychic firefighter, walking through the fire, saving more than bodies, lifting spirits higher. From the smoking shadows where the lost souls call, he hears them whisper. He answers them all.
Sandy Hart is my guest. SandeHart.com is her website. First of all, Sandy, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us here on the X Zone. Always a great pleasure having you with us.
Oh, thank you. I just love being here. Thank you for having me back.
Always a pleasure, Sandy. Sandy, the awakening that you had, do you find that women around the world also had this awakening, and that it was like time to come out of your cocoons, ladies?
Absolutely. And I know that to be true because I talk to women all day long. It's that tension. It's a creative tension. It's a tension that's begging for our attention. And women are the first to respond when the baby cries, generally. Sorry to sound sexist there, but that it's our biological innate imperative to respond to the pain and the suffering of our children, and being the mothers of this planet, those who create and co-create the creatrix of life. Of course, we feel every pain. And so, yeah, women are showing up, and we're finding each other too. We're finding each other. We're calling each other to one another. We're making sure there's connections being made left and right. In a day, I can have 4 new introductions. It's not unusual right now what's happening. And I was just talking to somebody about this, that, it's things are speeding up so radically that one of those things is that connection. And we're finding each other in different frequencies too, I think. I think we're resonating with each other. I think when my frequency rises to the level of love and care and nurturing and caregiving, other women rise. It's like the boat, right? Raising everyone's boat. And we do that for each other. And we find each other that way because now we can all see each other above the tide.
How can people today learn to embrace uncertainty instead of fearing it?
Well, fear is a big one. I have a chapter on fear, actually. Fear is interesting because fear is, it's our birthright.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we have to keep us alive and safe. Yet it's too easy to fall into fear, and fear usually is a practice, right? So we can also practice our way out of fear. We can learn to trust. We can learn to accept. We can learn, replacing fear with curiosity. It's really hard to be afraid of something when you're curious about it. And so when you replace fear with curiosity, you not only you're changing your mind, you're shifting your mind, you're shifting your focus. It's like, why am I afraid of that? Or I wonder what that story is over there that I'm afraid of, or the condition of the world. You can't change it, which is, that never worked for me, by the way. When someone said you can't change the future, why worry about it? Because I'm a mother of 2 and a grandmother of 3. Of course I worry. Yet to remember that there's nothing I could do about it and the right thing is going to happen. And this is where trust comes in. This is the trust frequency 100%. When we can operate in the trust frequency, here we go again. I have a chapter on that too. The trust frequency is the greatest pathway to really helping to dispel fear.
So, how does the concept of liminality apply to global challenges of today?
Well, we're in a liminal space. We can be in a liminal space all day long, yet culturally or current event wise, we are definitely in a liminal space. But we're between crisis and reaction, dilemma and choice. A liminal space is also chaos and order, and that is where we are right now. Is in between chaos and order. And the further we bend to off kilter on chaos, the closer we are actually to order, because we're not designed to sustain chaos for too long. And so the Liminal Odyssey invites us to operate in that curiosity, to look around while you're in that space and go, okay, what's my role here? What's my responsibility here to that culture that I want to see, and keep our focus there, keep it on the other side of over the edge of the growing edge, and being in the Liminal Odyssey right now, recognizing we're in an Odyssey, and start doing our work, and knowing, because when you're in a liminal space, you know that you're eventually going to get out of it, and so that brings a little comfort. Right? And then remember, we have our work to do here. It's not the space, it's what we do in it.
Sande, you've worn many hats over the years: author, activist, leader. How do you define your core purpose?
Oh, wow. Stump the guest.
I didn't mean to stump you.
Love and be loved. I would say love and be loved. That's easy for me to say. Create wildly. I am a hopeless creator, and live on the growing edge. If the box doesn't work, find a circle. I'll blow open the doors. I think that's me. I think that's what my core purpose here is: to love and be loved, and along the way, create which might be of service to the world.
You've also described yourself as a social artist. Now, what does that mean?
I started thinking about what an artist does, and an artist paints, and I just love people. So I love to get people all over me. And so I just love to play with people and their creativity. I love to collaborate. I love to cooperate with people. I love to share ideas, and then again, create together. I don't like to do any projects really alone. I like to write alone. But other than that, I really love to create with other people. So social artist is basically looking around and seeing, I've got a room full of others here that are just talented in every way that I'm not. And complimentary or not even complimentary, but have something to add or challenge me or what have you. That's what a social artist does. They know they're part of the whole, and we can play together and create and learn and grow together, honoring our differences and our uniqueness. But again, I just love to get people all over me.
If you could change one thing about the world of today, what would it be, Sandy?
That we all take a breath and see what those astronauts saw. The Earth, this beautiful planet, this marble that's spinning 400,000 miles or spiraling 400,000 miles around the galaxy right now. And we think we are so important, and we are. We're important, but we keep in balance with what really matters. And what really matters is to share humanity, to know we need each other, how much better we are together, and to love and be loved.
I love that. And my final question for you tonight, my friend, is what message do you want to leave with listeners who are searching for the meaning and their own direction?
Take some time and listen in. Listen in. What is your body telling you? What is that one thing you haven't done? Maybe you're already doing it. Maybe you could do it with more people. Now is the time. Right now, we all have a sacred responsibility to show up in the world with what we have, with our unique, God-gifted talent, skills, passions. Show up with that. No one else has that but you, and that's what the world needs right now. I think we'll solve this big problem when we all do that.
I think that each one of us has a piece of the jigsaw puzzle to life in our pockets. And what we need to do is we need to go to a table, take out our piece, put it on the table, and with everyone else at the table, put that jigsaw puzzle together. And I think that we will one day realize that we can't do it alone, that we need each other. And that's why when the astronauts were zooming back towards Earth, they saw this little blue planet. And they saw a single planet that had all these people on it. And that's what we are. We're not spread out all over the universe. We're here on this little planet, and we have the ability to go forward, but we need to work with each other. And that's how I see it.
Oh, and that's such a beautiful picture that you drew with the jigsaw puzzle. When you lay down your piece, you are then a social artist. Beautiful. I'm going to use that.
Go right ahead.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your book. Where is your book available for our listeners?
At sandehart.com or wherever you can get your book online. But speaking of over-consumerism, buy it from me if you're in the United States, or Barnes & Noble online is good too. Wherever you get your books online, you can find it there. In the United States, come to me. I'll drop a little gift in there for you.
Oh, what a lady. What a lady. Sandy, are you going to be out doing any lectures, any TED movements in the near future?
Right now, I am so married to this book I'm finishing on women who future a new paradigm. And it's a different kind of book. It's actually a new genre. Speaking of creating something new, it's something new. But I can't really say much more about it, but I am really excited about that. So I dare not leave my house.
Well, when you do have it published, please come back and talk to us about it. But I want to thank you again for your time, continued success, and thank you, Sande Hart, for being there.
Rob, it's such a joy to be with you. Thank you so much.
Have a nice evening, my friend. And X-Zone Nation, if you'd like to find out more about our guest this hour, Sande Hart, visit sandehart.com. That's SandeHart.com. And on Facebook, facebook.com/SandeHart. I'll be back on the other side of this break as the X-Zone continues on the CanCon Broadcast Network and streaming around the world on classic1220.ca.
Walking through